Hi everyone, welcome to this wonderful episode of Wildflow'ers. I'm Michelle Withers, beaming in from New Zealand, and the lovely Michelle beaming in from Luxembourg.
Hi
And
everyone. Hi Jonny.
And our guest tonight is Jonny Bear, who's also beaming in from New Zealand as well. I'm really excited. Sorry, Jonny, I didn't even give you a chance to speak.
Okay.
And really excited to have you here as our guest tonight. You come to us as someone who is extremely experienced in supportive transformation of human beings. You're a soul whisperer, a life architect, coach, mentor, Reiki Master, NLP coach, and there's just so many other aspects that make the whole that is you. And really looking forward to learning a lot more about your journey and what you're bringing to the world today. And I'd love if you could just kick things off for us, Jonny, with a little bit about the journey from there to Bear, so that we know a little bit more about, what got you to where you are today. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I'll contain it within a very quick, of a very long journey, but it's a journey that many have been on. It's a journey of trial, of tribulation, of pain, of triumph, of all of that wonderful things that life brings, but all of those painful things that life brings through that school and through that journey. Fair to say I learned a little bit by going through it. And then I realized I didn't come with a manual. It wasn't like tagged along me operationals manual, which told me, who I am and what I operate. So all I had to rely on was external feedback. And, some of that feedback wasn't very good. And a lot of people have been through that. And so began quite a challenging childhood that led to an early leaving of an environment that was probably a good basis for me, a good foundation, but it was like a stepping stone to move on to other things. And so began a journey. I just started going through life and just going, no, there's got to be more to it than this. And it's like how our life coincides. I started meeting beautiful people and having those kind of woo-woo wow experiences. They talk a little bit about in the Celestine prophecy, when you start kind of aligning yourself and your vibrational energy and you start to raise that, then it synchronizes with this unlimited possibilities of future opportunities. So the more that you raise yourself, the more that you start synchronizing with some of these, and your life changes. And it got to the stage where life just did become one big wow. And then you just continue. Did you see that? Did you hear that? But that was okay on when you lived in the kind of on the fringe of things. But when you're living in mainstream everyday life, it's like there was life, and then there was this kind of spiritual life, or it was like a religion or something that you did on weekends and that. But to me, if I couldn't do them both, then life didn't really have that meaning. So I started to synchronize in workplaces and that with workplace cultures and learning about humanity and how we work mentally, emotionally. And then I started learning more about metaphysically. Then I went, geez, I didn't know that I've got this metaphysical body that has all these chakras and this is how they work. And they're plugged into the endocrine system, which is plugged into, all my glands, and that's plugged into all of my hard wiring for my nervous system. And it's just this amazing, wow, this human body that we're in. And it's like, so I started to look at life differently. Instead of looking at all the, oh, geez, look at all the shit going on, I started to look at, things like behind you, the beautiful plants, started to see nature. And what I started to realize in that realization was how much I disconnected from the natural world, from the rhythms and the pulses. And people might say, oh, that's real woo-woo stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But now science can measure these pulses, electrical impulses, these EMF impulses from plants and from minerals, so that they realize that all of nature is alive and it's pulsing, and that we're all alive and we're pulsing. So it got me into a lot of my life and my journey. Like at times I was maybe sitting with Native American shamans and learning from them shamanism or druidry, but at the same time I was learning about science as well, and how science worked in, and then different belief systems like the Tao and Buddhism and different versions of Christianity, just trying to piece it all together. Think I've done that? Nah. The more I think I know, I realize that the least I know. So yeah, that kind of brought me in a roundabout way to, I love life, I love learning about it. And I guess what really works for me is to ensure that I'm connected really back to nature and to the natural world, that I'm plugged in. Yeah.
It's amazing what you shared now, to stay open-minded actually, and not to close down for any new possibilities, noticing the synchronicities and anything. You have been in the corporate world for a long time. When was the tipping point actually that you started to notice those synchronicities who were telling you that you maybe have a look otherwhere to transform and change your own life?
Yeah, I think it's when I realized that in a lot of the business world, it was about getting a return for the investor. It was about money and building a business based upon that. And it wasn't so much about what the business was for and for the people as well, and also the impact on its planet. Now, I've been lucky enough that I've been working with an international group for a while, and this is what they're looking at now is the changing face of business. So the way that has been previously designed in a very hierarchical, top-down kind of feed system, and what they're looking at now is creating businesses which are more, instead of competition, collaboration. Mm-hmm. So it's everybody can sit within psychological, emotional, mental safety in workplaces and really speak from their hearts. And they're already doing this. And some of these groups that I'm working with, they're working with billionaire companies, and they're using these philosophies and psychology stuff in businesses now. And you're talking companies like Google, and all of those, LinkedIn, they're big companies and big systems, and they're realizing how much that we need to understand that we're more than just mental, emotional beings and that. So like Google has got mindfulness programs as part of their work entry programs and all of that. And they're saying they've got like 100,000 employees around the world joining it. So there's a lot of good initiatives kind of moving us away from this, which is more a mental, conceptual way of doing business, which is more egoic. It's about winning. It's very much about control. And that's one that we've been for quite a few thousand years now in that old system. So now we're changing it. Hallelujah. We're going more to a matriarchal, which is a more generous giving, sharing, which is the collaboration. And this is when, I talk when the heart flows wide open. To me, that's what that really means. It's just coming back to that heart and just being able to be in a place. We haven't been able to be in safe places for thousands of years now. And I sit in groups, men's groups and women's groups, and I hear the cry of the pain and the suffering. And but I also hear from within people, a lot of people, a genuine desire for the healing to occur, and for us to sit within that heart space and have that healing by that heart to be allowed to be spoken. And in the speaking of it, there's a hearing and it feels heard. And when we feel heard, there's so much of a healing that occurs on a deep level. And that's really a first stage of healing for a lot of people, once we can speak. And then moving from there, it becomes a way of life. So whenever we're sitting in meetings within business ones, it's not in a hierarchical kind of way. It's more as we're all on this team together, and we're all as equally as important, because we realize the value of the collective, of the consciousness. And instead of I, it's kind of that we. And that's the biggest challenge that I find with a lot of people, because a lot of this world has been that it's all about me. And the I. So for people to start sharing their toys and sharing, or even letting go of that, but really coming from their heart, especially when we're taught to shut our hearts down, because that's painful. So when you've been hurt so many times, and we're holding thousands of years of collective trauma, heartache, but also a lot of love in that, it's to release that, to let that heart flow. And in that heart flow, there'll be so much healing. And that's where I believe, that heart is the portal between our lower three chakras, which is the chakra of our physicality, and our upper, which is of the outer dimensions. And when we've got them all looped in together, then wow, we can really, that's the world that I'm part of now. And that's what really keeps me going, is because I'm not just talking about it, I'm existing in these realms, and I'm having these kind of conversations as part of everyday kind of conversations. It's not that we're having to hide behind closed doors so much now. This is real. And it is time to go back to real. And it's not so much making everything, and I think sometimes spirituality gets a bad rap sometimes, for its, I guess, its expression. I see it as a way that we can express ourselves in a way that is loving, and it is caring, and it's compassionate, without judging it. And if it does come from that place of that deep heart and from that compassion, then that's such a beautiful thing. Why not encourage it and share it in life?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Amazing words, Jonny. And I do want to mention, the privilege I've had of knowing you over a number of years, and in the settings where we've met, where that deep love comes from your heart for people, at festivals, in terms of the support you've given people, either one-on-one or running groups, the things you've run at the sanctuary, as well, and the privilege of actually seeing the work that you've done for your Wellbeing Foundation. Maybe not everybody will have had the good fortune to see the immense amount of incredible work you've actually done with the manuals, etc., that you've prepared for that, which has been a real privilege. And I just want to say that your posts as well you've been doing on Facebook, they're beautiful, they're inspiring, they're warm, and invite people to come to you to share.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, a lot of little elements there, but I just wanted to highlight what you're offering, and the warmth that exudes, and the love that comes from that is very, very obvious.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm lucky to share my life with Sandra. And, we set up the sanctuary about 8 years ago. And it was really, we talk about, changing the world and what does it look like, but it's really about creating something and then becoming a living example of it. And so that's why we wanted a place here that was trying to move from the having to hire out halls kind of thing, or being in the back, because a lot of what we do is known as alternative. So what I'm doing is transforming that name and calling it complementary, because this is what we're doing. A lot of the work, like reflexology, a lot of herbalism, I mean, that's been around for thousands and thousands of years, and it's got as it has got scientific proof. Yes, it's got a couple of thousand years that we used it for medicine, and to great effect. And I'm not against medicine. Modern medicine, I see a lot of great things it has. But once again, we're in another aspect of human interaction where there is this separation. So that's a lot of what I'm looking to do, is to normalize what we do. And so instead of it being all the woo-woo stuff out of there, come on, let's just bring it down into everyday stuff. It's how we used to talk back in the day and all of that. It was, the bumps in the night and all of that. It was all about life, and we did, if you needed some plant medicine or something like that, there was always somebody in the neighborhood that would know what plant, or as soon as you go what ailment you'd have about half a dozen of the local women around with all their mixtures and all of that. That's the way. So that's, I guess, what I'm looking to go back, because there is a part that we're missing. It's the energetical or the metaphysical properties of the plant people as well. And when we use just normal medicine, we tend to just pull out the chemical properties, and we synthesize those. But there's also the metaphysical, and it's the same with ourselves. We're sometimes focusing on the physical ailments and treating the symptoms rather than the causals and the mental and the emotional. So we're not treating ourselves holistically. And this is what I'm presenting in. And it's not my model or anything. It's been around for thousands of years, is looking at people more holistically, is, what's causing Jonny to continue having these throat problems, and what's causing him to have these knee problems, and all of those, getting back to causals like we used to. So yeah, I'm excited at this time because there is a joining. And that's why we went with the Wellbeing Foundation. That's why we went with the charitable trust, is because there is an official body supporting a lot of people who are vulnerable, and so you do need to be a professional body, and I totally respect that. And yeah, that took about 2-3 years to go through all the legal setting up, the foundations, and then the trust, then all the boards and all of that. So it's a lot of hard work and dedication, but we just believe in what we're doing. Yeah. We're not alternative. We're rolling up our sleeves, and we're right next door to everybody that's helping people get well. We're right into helping whichever way we can do it. And it's not just about medicine. It's about, checking in with people in the community and saying hi. And it's, in most of the work that I do, I'd say the biggest thing that I've found is disconnection. People are disconnected with themselves. And then with this connection with themselves, they don't know who they are. They've just got all these personality, all these masks draped over them, but they don't really know who that they are. And then they don't know who they are in relationship to the world. And then a lot of people might say, yeah, I've got it all together, but they don't, because they don't have their relationship with the natural world as well. So yeah, once again, I come back to, and the Māori people talk about it, the te whare tapawha. You've got to have those 4 pillars. You've got your physical, your mental, emotional, you've got your whanau, your social, and you've also got to have your spiritual, or your wairua. Those are the 4 pillars holding up your house, and then that sits on the foundation. And I think that's why in modern medicine we've skewiffed a bit, because we've not allowed a lot of natural medicine in there, which, people's traditional medicines, which people are using, billions of people use them every day around the world, is still to allow people access. Because it's not just the properties of the plant chemical, there's the metaphysical, but there's also the ancestral properties, and there's so much more in that. So yeah, that's why I love doing what I do.
There's a wonderful, because there's a wonderful
connecting people
of Martin Sheldrake, the son of Robert Sheldrake, who describes a lot that connection with nature and the entanglement and everything. I think it's important to remember all those things that you mentioned. Look back as well on the old cultures, what they have done, and anything. But I think it's a common problem, because I also used to think that the purpose of life was like to look as good as possible in society and to accumulate in a lot of money in your bank account. But after all, we grow up in a society in which these values are strongly represented. And as you speak about the loss of the connection to nature, it's all about all those things that we receive every day, the input of everything. I mean, nowadays you have a smartwatch who tells you how many times per day you have to go to the toilet. And I don't know how this evolves with AI in the future. So we don't have to think for ourselves. and we lose that connection more and more. And also, I mean, people exhaust themselves as well in this process. We become tired, we become exhausted, because there seems to be no end where we can say, well, yes, now I have done it, I've reached my goal. But it's the illusion that we are chasing afterwards. And it's quite important as well to get out of that, like, watch everything, not only one side, but everything, and build your own opinion, which is a little bit lost nowadays, because you like have to pick a side, you have to decide for this side or for this side. If you don't, you are a bad person and anything. It's quite challenging at the moment to find like your center and stay grounded and decide by yourself. And I mean, there's a lot of potential when you discover that realm to also like transform yourself and get creative, like do what you are supposed to do and not what you have to do to live, to survive, you know?
Yeah. Have some fun with it all is what I say. Is, you know, realize, let's get over ourselves. Really, you know, and a lot of it is this self-doubt and this, we need all this self-love, and I see that that's real. But, you know, if we were just to wake up to the glory, awesome being that we are, who we are right now, and we are freaking awesome beings. You know, it's taken 3.5 billion years for us to evolve to this state from the first microbe from on this planet. And it's like, wow, you know, so let's celebrate. Let's enjoy life, because there are so many beautiful things. And it's, I don't see it as bypassing, because there is a bit of calling that out. But energy, as I know it, it has this properties of, there's a shamanic principle that says energy flows where your attention goes.
Mm-hmm.
And science has proved it as well. When they had a certain intention with doing a scientific experiment that was recorded, and they were looking to have certain outcomes, they found that the very watching of it had an influence on the actual experiment itself. So that's what we find in life, is wherever attention goes or awareness goes, then energy flows with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just noticed in life that the less I put my attention to all the stuff that annoys me, the less annoyed that I am. And that may sound really simple. Well, duh, of course it will be. But on so many levels of my life, you know, mentally, emotionally, physically, and metaphysically, it's just so much freer and easier. And it is, it may sound easy in practice, but for a lot of people, and it took me for a while to be able to drop into that state. So yeah, I'm just loving, as I'm starting to realize and coming out, and there's some beautiful minds out there who are eloquently speaking of it with words that I can't quite articulate. You know, these are cosmologists, these are people at the cutting edge of our science and that, and talking about this beautiful, amazing world. And then you've got AI and the amazing things. But if you notice that within all of those things, there's fears around them, and people are fearing, oh, what if this happens with AI, or they control that, or what if this happens over here? And that's how we tend to, yeah, I think discernment is good, you know, so a little bit of smarts in there. But I also think to be careful not to have the handbrake on too much, is because because with our minds, we can't even conceive of what's evolving in this world at the moment. If you look at our great grandparents, they couldn't conceive of this world that we live in now. And we're starting to see some of the things of our childhood that were sci-fi movies becoming normal everyday life now. So it's wow. And that's what I help people to do, is just, what are you looking at? I says, the big show of life's on. Which, do you want to watch the horror movie, or do you want to watch the comedy show? Yeah, there's plenty of comedy show on there. Or do you want to, and it's not bypassing, it's not looking at it, because we are part of all of that. But I just know that where I put that flow, and when that comes from my heart, when it's like I'm aligning with from my heart and going, here I am today, here I am, and then arriving in the day and what's happening. Okay, what a beautiful way to live. And sure, there's some collective useful things that we have as a community have around here, so that we're all kind of on the same planet and all of that. But the general thing is a genuine desire to come from the heart, flow from the heart. And this is not talking this fluffy stuff, because sometimes it's quite painful. Sometimes it's quite emotional, speaking from here and vulnerable and that. And that's why a lot of communities don't work, because it gets too uncomfortable for some people and they leave and goes, oh, no, this is just too much.
Mhm.
So it's that continually showing up in the face of it. And yet we've all been hurt before. We've felt pain. We've felt all that disconnection and separating. And yet we're still showing up in life.
Yeah.
We've survived it. We're the survivors, and we're showing up in life to go, despite. And people say, well, why do you do it? And I say, because I'm not addicted to life and love. But I'm not going to not show up to it to smell that rose because it's got thorns on it. Or I'm not going to not do something because I may got hurt. I will impale myself on those thorns fully to smell that sweet rose of life. And that's what I'm saying to people is, yes, all of that darkness, all of that shadows, it's all going on. But if we only focus on the problems rather than the solutions, and the solutions are there, the solutions of collaboration, our businesses, our communities, let's get rid of all of this competing against each other.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to have so many brands of all of this. Just get all those companies and say, right, guys, get together, form 2 or 3 companies and come up with the best product at the best price for your people, and just start changing it. So there's a lot to be done, but to me, it starts with the heart. And when I can help people to come back to their heart, there's no more sacred thing to see somebody. And I find it most sacred for the people that have been really hurt and painfully to finally come down and stop and just to let that emotion come out. They may feel that they've let it go before, but to finally feel heard. And I know that when we allow this heart to flood open and we flow this out, there's going to be much healing. There's already a lot of healing happening.
Mm-hmm.
And there's more and more groups. The work that you 2 beautiful ladies are doing here right now is having the 3 of us sit and speak of this. Speak of opening our hearts, speaking of love, sharing our love to each other, and not feeling embarrassed about it. Geez, I used to be the token male at a lot of places and that. And especially down here in the South Island of New Zealand, it's very southern man, so it's like real tough, strong man and beautiful people, the foundation of a lot of the pioneering spirit. So I rocked up and bit of a different kind of alternative, no, complimentary person. Let's call me complimentary. So I rocked up there. I'd moved into the neighborhood, and they're like, "Great, yeah, mate. Yeah, we've got a whole lot of meat on the barbecue and that, and here's some wild boar and venison and all of that." And I says, "Oh, well, that's okay. I don't eat meat." I says, "Can I just scrape a little bit off the side and put my chickpea patties on?" And they're like, "Oh, yeah, okay, all right." And they're starting to looking at me funny, "Oh, who's this guy?" And then they're like, "Oh, here, have a beer or something like that." And I says, "Oh, no, thanks. Yeah, I just drink juice and that." So I got a nice fresh squeezed juice, started drinking that. And you could see that they were getting embarrassed and looking at each other, who the hell this guy is, and that. And I says, "Yeah, but that was a good game last night, wasn't it? There was a rugby game on the night before." And I realized, how far we've come. A lot of those people at that barbecue became my best friends, because we have started having those conversations again. And those conversations are starting to happen with the families opening up, communities opening up, and the pain speaking out of communities now. But from that pain is arising all this love and this compassion. And that's what I say, yeah, that pain and suffering will come out, but let's transmute it with that love, that energy, that life force that is within all living things, the spark of life. And when we can bring it back to its natural geometric shape, its natural algorithm, wow, watch the world shine. Yeah. And that's why I love sharing on these platforms, because that's what we do. We pop up and there's a little light that shines out, and there's another one there. And we're all just shining our lights, shining our love. And there's a lot of people lost out there that are looking for change. Yeah. Just seeing these two beautiful ladies here, just stepping up, and I just want to honor you for that. Yeah.
So much.
Thank you. Yeah. And it's so wonderful to hear your expression of all this. It really cements the importance of how we frame ourselves, and the need to tune in and be guided, because we do get, I say, the speed wobbles along the way. And just like you were sharing at the beginning of your story, I had said to Michelle just beforehand about a recent experience of myself that wasn't, say, so restful as far as my retreat I'd planned for, and I was in full-blown people pleaser mode. And
Yeah.
we were laughing that, 10, 15 years ago, we would never have analyzed or seen into ourselves, recognizing the characters that we play out.
Yeah.
And how far we've actually come, where you can say, well, it didn't work out the way I expected, but I own that a lot of it was because of what I did.
Wouldn't it be beautiful? And I used to do it in the workplace, but teach some of these people skills and communication skills, right throughout. Those are, to me, life skills which are more important than a lot of what we're taught. And what does it mean? To me, going back to our human values, and a lot of people, when I start working them with their values and asking them what are your values, they've got to really think about that and sort of go back and say, well, and so I've got a system where I help people. I've got a chart with all values, and then they can work out what they're strong in and what their challenges are. And it just gives them a good way to say, yeah, this is my real values. when I'm really aligned with life, when it's all zinging, this is where it feels. But when I'm off balance, then this is where I'm kind of off balance. And so you work on the off balance ones to kind of bring them back. And it's like businesses and everything, if we're not aligned to our values, to our purpose and meaning in life, then we're just going loop, loop, loop. And that's what a lot of people are. We're just looping a big story. Yeah, I reckon it's time to loop it up and set this thing spinning a bit faster. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. Yeah.
But you're raising the vibration. That's very clear from what you're saying.
Yeah.
And that's the fantastic thing. And it's very much recognizing that we can have these dark nights of the soul, but in fact, we can rise.
Yeah.
We can rise.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, it's it's through the darkness that we really see our light. If you imagine a match and it switches, you light it in the light of the day, in the full sun, you're just going to go, oh yeah, right. But if you lit it in a dark room, you're going to go, oh wow. So, our light shines its brightest and sometimes in those darkest of places, because that's when it can be reflected. Our light can be reflected back to us. So yeah, I just say to people, it's not about perfection. It's about excellence, and it's just, and then not overdoing it. Like as you say, with the people pleaser, but you can be doing that with yourself. So much self-development, personal development programs, and I'm doing this. Sometimes it's about chilling out, and the best thing you can do is go out in nature and plug yourself into a tree and just do some earthing.
So true.
Wow,
it's so true.
And it is.
And
I mean, you look at all the medicine and science that they've got coming around earthing blankets and earthing tables and all of that now. And you can do that just by lying on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's so much we're opening to and evolving to. It's limitless. So, I always say yes, there is our past and there's a lot of good things that we can bring forward. And it's not like getting rid of all of that. There's a lot of good stuff that we have learned. Bring that forward and just bring it into the now and just let all of that flow. And yeah, it'll all unfold at will. And sometimes it'll be messy and other times it'll be glorious. And yeah.
It's about embracing everything, every feeling and emotion inside, and just let it flow. Well, such amazing insights that you share today with us. Also amazing inspirations, Jonny. I would so love to go on to talk to you about so many stuff. We didn't talk about your soul food, but I would be pleased to do another episode with you.
Oh, thank you.
About all that stuff, because it's really amazing today. Thank you so much.
Hey, and thank you both, and I'll always speak of that to everybody who is stepping up to make a difference, because together we can, and that's how we can. Just one more person doing a little bit at each time, and it is. The world's changing. Yeah.
That's what we want to do. We want to inspire other people, show possibilities where they can find help in their transformation. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Jonny. Thank you, Shell. And don't forget to like and subscribe and share it to all your friends and your family and everyone you like. Thank you.
We will. Thank you and bless you.
We'll also pop your details below as well, Jonny, on YouTube so that people can get a hold of you. We do have a nice little global presence, so it's great that people hearing this around the world can know they can connect in with you. So thank you.
Awesome. Hey, thank you, ladies. Flow well. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.